What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another Game Plan. It's NFL Week 11. We're taking you through the best bets of the week, the best DFS plays of the week, and we've got the best better and DFS player in the biz here with me, John Statsational Alessia, top 10 DFS player in the world, #1 sports better in my book, and that's the only book that matters. Is there a ranking for #1 sports better in the world? Like, how can I do that? Can I just say it, even though there's no actual ranking?
Yeah, that's we could say it. I don't like saying it, but you're more than welcome to say whatever you want.
Sports better extraordinaire, DFS player, tops in the world, John Statsational Alessia. We're going to take a look at the NFL Week 11 slate from a DFS and betting perspective. We're going to wrap it all in one show. This is all you need for the week to smash. We'll smash bets. We'll smash DFS. I'm here to help out as much as I can. Kevin Allen, a.k.a. the Geek, DFS Army. John's here representing DFS Army and Sharp App. Sharp App, where you can get everything you need as a sports bettor. Tools, handles, sharp side, square side, track bets, compare odds, top props, everything and more over on the Sharp App. Make sure you have downloaded that. It'll help you follow along with the show. So, John, let's get right into NFL Week 11, and we're going right into the main slate. And we can talk about the resurgence / the surgence. I actually lost a bet on Chicago last week. I feel like it was a bad beat. Like, if I had to bet it again, I would bet the Bears. I don't know what happened in that game. What the hell happened in that game?
I don't know. I mean, that was the first time Detroit's won on the road under Campbell. So, and the offense. I mean, we expected the offense to be decent against Detroit, but yeah, I would agree. I think you were probably on the right side. The Bears defense just not good there, giving up the point. You know, Detroit hadn't scored in a while, hadn't put up points in a while, and then last week there they go against the Bears. You know, the Bears looked like they were going to start getting on a roll. Maybe, Fields maybe taking them, just win a bunch of games, and who knows, start contending for the playoffs. But that looks to be a pipe dream now at this point. Can't lose at home to Detroit.
No, I mean, I still think they have a chance, but that was a rough loss. But what continues is, so my takeaways are, #1, the Bears offense continues to be the most exciting from a quarterback position in the National Football League. Justin Fields, another 140-plus yard performance. He is breaking records every week, but he looks good doing it. Breaking tackles, just running with confidence. I love it. I really think there's a psychological effect of having success week after week, because he's out there scrambling around like no one can stop me. It's crazy. Look like freaking Barry Sanders back there. I don't know what's happened. Maybe I'm overreacting.
He is. We said it that this was sort of coming because he played a couple of really good defenses and looked good, and now he's played weaker defenses and looked really good and been the top quarterback each week here. But the thing this is. We've made this move towards a college-style quarterback in the NFL, and this is the ultimate one because, I mean, he is he is Tim Tebow throwing the ball with Lamar Jackson-type skills, except he's just a bigger, like, he's a legit running back. Like, Lamar Jackson playing running back would not last very long, but this kid is big, strong, and fast, so they're really running a college style. I mean, you just can't, if you watch him throw, it's terrible. And but it's going to be tough to stop. We'll see if they're able to. I think he'll be easier to stop than Lamar eventually here, until he gets to where Lamar. This is what we were talking about Lamar with his rookie year. Was like, listen, he can't throw. He's not accurate. And then he figured it out. And that second year, we talked about it last week. His second year was dominant because no one expected him. They were like, go ahead, beat us with your arm. And he did.
That was when he shocked it. I mean, like I said, I follow Fields' progress, and I really do think it's year 2 Lamar right now, what we're seeing, where all of a sudden it just like started clicking with the running game. Year 3 and 4 Lamar, we've seen he tries a little bit too much to be the quarterback, and from it's good for wins, but from a fantasy production standpoint, the fantasy production has gone down for Lamar Jackson, and that's what I love about Fields. He's in that sweet spot. Like, there is nobody on the Bears who's like, hey, listen, try to hang out in the pocket, throw a pass. No. And here's another great thing about this game. So let's talk DFS. The number one, well, actually, let's get right into it because 50-point total, loves it, right? Massive total. But interesting component here is that the Falcons are the favorite. I'm surprised by that. Like, I am on Chicago here. Once again, I think you take the +3. Sorry, going right back to it. Bobby Wow appreciates me for appreciating his team, if you know who Bobby Wow is. But as far as this game total, because Atlanta just not a very exciting offense, they have a hard time scoring. Now, Atlanta's defense, very, very bad, particularly bad against wide receivers. I'm not sure that Chicago will be able to exploit it, but if we take a look at the sheet here, we've got your sheet here, Atlanta, 7, almost 8 points per game above expectation to opposing wide receivers. Chicago defense generally very bad against running backs. And you know what Atlanta wants to do? They want to run it. So that's an interesting come together. So I'll do a little DFS angles and you give me the betting angles and your DFS thoughts on this. But my general DFS thought is go right back to Fields. Do not worry about it. This kid is doing special things. I don't care. They keep raising the price. Don't sweat it. Just like last week I said it. Don't sweat it. He was too cheap. We roll with Fields again this week, and I think he's the best quarterback play on the board, period. And the other guy I really like on Chicago, of course, Cole Kmet doing his thing the last few weeks, catching touchdowns. I don't see why that's going to change. They found something with Cole Kmet kind of like as the only red zone target. You know, it feels a little chasey after 3 weeks in a row, but I don't care. Going right back to it. Not my ultimate tight end play, but definitely a pairing with Fields. And then the one that's sneaky for me this week is David Montgomery. Khalil Herbert, IR, right? And if you combine what Herbert and Montgomery have done, Montgomery's done nothing the last few weeks. Herbert's kind of done nothing. But if you combine them into one person, it's actually one productive running back. And if there's any touchdowns happening, he's definitely going to be outplaying his DraftKings and FanDuel salary, preferred on FanDuel, even better bargain pricing on FanDuel for Montgomery this week. So that's my assessment of the Chicago side of this game. I actually want you tell me what to do with Atlanta. You bring it to me. Number top 10 player in the world. What do I do with Atlanta here?
Yeah, I mean, you could. It's so tricky, right? So you got Patterson basically, and I don't know. I'm not looking at much else in this game because they're only going to be able to run the ball, I think. And obviously they use Patterson in different ways. So I think he's your only real viable option from the
he's dangerous.
The Atlanta side.
Yeah, I mean, and he's a dangerous play. They don't throw to him. You know, last year what Cordero Patterson did so well was combine being a running back and a wide receiver. We're not getting the wide receiver part of it very much this year. It's all running back, and he's only getting, 8, 12, that kind of zone of carry. Like, it takes a lot for Cordero to make value. He could do it, but when you're splitting with Algier and all these other guys and Marcus Mariota, it's very thin.
Yeah, it's because it's a much different offense here with Mariota than it was with Ryan. Obviously, Ryan's not running the ball, so we're taking, and they really weren't using another running back. I mean, when he was when he was healthy, he was their offense for the most part. That has not been the case this year. When you look at it, I mean, the Bears have been scoring a bunch of points here now that since the Fields thing has started to click. But you would kind of think on paper, 50 seems like a lot of points for two teams that basically want to run the ball against each other. But they're just scoring a big. When Fields runs, it's like a pass. When you have these running quarterbacks who are successful, they don't run. It's not like running with a running back where it's 4 yards, 4 yards, 4 yards. They run at 10, 15-yard chunks when they do it. So that's why the scoring is up, and they're generally running on the sidelines, which is also like stopping the clock, for a time being. So it extends the game a little bit. So their running is not like traditional running. So you would kind of think that this would be a situation where two teams that want to run the ball against each other. 50 looks like a high total, especially right now, the way the NFL has been. But I don't know. I mean, you love Chicago. If we look at when we look inside the app, of course, you're with 80% of the public, at least the public money, 75% of the bets are going to be on Chicago. That makes sense.
No sharp side here, right? Like,
I don't think so.
There's no
I don't think so.
that there's a
yeah.
What could happen in this game? Is this the game? Look, I mean, look at the line movement.
Well, yeah, it was 4.5.
Why?
And I mean, you know, it's like, and now it's down to 3.5. So you could still get 3. Obviously, if you like the Bears side here, you're going to take it at the 3.5. The model likes it almost at a pick 'em here. So, you know, the model kind of agrees with you on, you know, you should be taking the dog, and it's got 52. So it really likes this game over as well. And I would tend to lean towards the over. I don't like the game myself. I'm not as convinced yet. This Chicago offense is convincing me, but I'm not 100% sure they're going to be able to slow down Atlanta either. I think we see a very similar game to what they had with Detroit last week.
I just think Atlanta sucks. Their offense isn't good. I don't, you know, one of the things about Chicago is at some point these defensive coordinators are going to figure out that that Fields isn't throwing very often, and you might as well not worry as much about the pass as you know, but that'll give Fields maybe that'll result in a big passing day for Fields when like some guy says, screw it, I'm going man. You can't even do man coverage because if you play man against the Bears, that opens up the run for Fields. So you got to have your guys facing him.
Yeah, you want to play zone with somebody spying him.
Yeah, but
at all times, that's how you have to really try and play it. But yeah, it's difficult. You're right. When you play man, the backs. The cornerbacks, the safeties, they get their back to the line of scrimmage. They don't see what the quarterback is doing. And of course it opens up big plays. Nice. Always tricky when you play a guy like that, but you have to absolutely be playing the run against the, I mean, if he beats me, he's going to beat me throwing the ball, and that's it. I mean, he just has not proven that he's very accurate throwing the ball. And if, you know, I was kind of expecting, I've been expecting that the last couple of weeks, but we'll see. You know, they're getting more and more film on him. You know, even, you know, he had that one run down by the goal line that was unbelievable. It was a scramble. It was a pass play. He scrambled, broke a couple of tackles. Just, you know, he's just a big kid. So we'll see. He's going to get his. He's going to get his touch. That's the thing. You know, when these quarterbacks run the ball in, he's their best option at the goal line. Quite frankly.
Well, I think Montgomery, though, will do some damage this week. I think they can go right back to it. And the big thing with Fields, though, that the big difference I'm seeing with him, and we spent a lot of time on this game, we're going to move on. But the big difference I'm seeing with Fields this year is last year, I don't know if it's tentativeness or what it is, but last season, a lot of his runs, you just really needed to touch him and he would fall down. I don't know if it's like he was kind of maybe, I don't really have a reason for it other than I just think confidence. You know, I think you just felt that you feel the touch and you kind of fall down, or you're not playing
the
within
thing is
yourself.
you don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on behind the scene. We don't know what the coaching staff is instilling in him. And you know, you get the feeling that maybe this coaching staff just said, listen, this is what we got. This is, and they spoke to him and said, let's just utilize your talents to the best of your abilities here. And when it's there, run it. Like most quarterbacks, we don't want most quarterbacks to run the ball first. Like it's, hey, when all else fails, run it. They're probably telling them, hey, if option 1 is not there, go.
Oh, they're definitely telling him. He is not. There's no way.
There's no reading. There's no reading the defense. It's like, boom, you've got one option. It's covered. You go. So he's reading whatever he needs to read. He's got to read the safety, whatever he's got to read. If that read is not advantageous to the pass, take off and go with it.
You know what another good comparison for what he's doing is, and I don't really think of it, and I hope the career arc doesn't mirror this one, but Robert Griffin, when he was a rookie and he had that incredible rookie year, it was exactly that. It was like, make your read. You don't like it? Just go. And he had this incredible fantasy season that he could never replicate. So hopefully the career arc for Fields doesn't go that way. But I like the Bears here. I love Bears offense. Once again, I'm stacking Fields. I love Montgomery. In my first look lineup this week, I used Fields and Montgomery in the same lineup. That's what kind of a bargain Montgomery is, specifically over on FanDuel. And I love Fields again. I'll pair him with Komet. I'll pair him with Claypool. I'll pair him with, I'm only stacking him with one, even though Scotty Newman took down the early tournament last week, stacking Fields with 2. The stack didn't really help. Mooney's not really doing a ton, so you could just stack him with 1. It's plenty. And I don't mind Montgomery in lineups with Fields as well. All right. And I'm betting Chicago here. I'm taking the 3.5. I love that it's 3.5 and not 3.
Yeah, grab it now. I think it's only going down. That line's not going up.
Yeah, I'm about to. What book is that on, by the way?
I believe it was PointsBet had it.
PointsBet, the hardest one for me to log into.
Let me see if anyone else has that line.
Yeah,
right now,
and that will pop up. So next on the board, Panthers at Baltimore. Baltimore 12-point home favorites in a game with a 41.5-point total. Now, I think the Panthers are I'm not even sure if they're going back to PJ Walker. I'm seeing projections for Baker Mayfield at this point. So do you know who's starting at quarterback for the Panthers here?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if anything's become official on that yet.
So unclear who the starter is for the Panthers. On the Baltimore side, another interesting phenomenon is Lamar Jackson has been priced up, and it's a bizarre price up across the DFS sites because he hasn't done anything in weeks and since week 2. Disappointing. And now he's the second or third highest salary quarterback on both FanDuel and DraftKings. Really weird. I don't really see why I'm going to get excited for Lamar Jackson in a spot where it should be a blowout for Baltimore. And Baltimore has clearly shown that in blowout situations, they're going to lean on the run and they're not going to put too much on Lamar. I'm out. I'm out on Lamar this week, John. I am out on it for better or for worse. Other than maybe, large field craziness, silly for the millie. But he's going to be owned enough that I don't even think I can get silly for the millie with him because there's no leverage to be had.
I don't disagree with that. You typically don't like to take quarterbacks in those double-digit spread type games. Really, most spreads over a touchdown, we tend to not want the quarterback in those games. So Lamar probably, he's going to be owned decently here. I mean, he's 8,400 on DraftKings. You always run with it's so tricky in the NFL now because a lot of what we used to do was based on the traditional quarterback. But with these guys, we talked about Josh Allen this year in similar situations. Lamar does have the capability of running a couple of touchdowns in. They get a blow. The game could be a blowout at the half, but he still got to 25 points by halftime, and he's 35 when the game ends, and there he is in winning lineups. But I do agree. I think the probability of that is lessened. There's some other quarterbacks on the slate that I like. I mean, when we talk about it from a gambling perspective, from the betting side, the sharps came in on this game over, and that's when it was at 43.5, which is interesting because typically if the sharps are going to bet a game, they're going to bet either the side or the total. The line tends to move in that direction, but now here we are at 41.5. Now that could be some of that could have to do with the quarterback. Perhaps the sharps were looking at it thinking maybe Baker was going to be in there as opposed to Walker. That could be the
that might be it.
The logic.
I'm telling you, there's something going on at the quarterback position. I gotta look it up and just kind of see if there's any word that Mayfield is gonna. And the head coach said Mayfield will start. Here we go.
Yeah. So there you go. But then the line is the line's 41.5. I kind of like I like the over in this game myself.
So
I kind of like it with the sharps. The model likes it to the over. Model thinks there's a little bit of value here taking Carolina. I'm going to double check that model to make sure that it's because it's going to have a different. You guys who have the app, it's going to change based on who the quarterback is.
Do we really think that Walker or Mayfield is going to change a line much?
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit. I mean, Walker's just proven that he's really pretty useless, and Baker Mayfield's just slightly better than useless. So
I think Carolina with Mayfield in the game. Now that we know that that's the case, I was leaning Carolina here plus 12 anyway. I think it's just a lot of points, and I like Donta Foreman as a running back. I've told you that before. I think he's been just fine with the role. I actually don't mind him as a DFS play either. And again, Walker, he had a couple of good, let's say he had a couple of good performances, but for a bad quarterback, good performance, like where he didn't seem completely terrible. But overall, Walker is the QB3 for a very good reason. Doesn't do anything with it. Like, it wasn't doing anything to get us excited. So Baker Mayfield, kind of bad too. But maybe he's less bad. I don't know. Let's see if Mayfield can look a little bit better in the role. I think if they could run a little bit more competent offense, there's a reasonable chance just to keep this game slow moving. That's what I'm saying with Donta Foreman. Just to slow the game down. You got a big running back, kind of just keep a drive alive, get a first down. All of a sudden you get that 14, 15, 16 play drive, milked 3/4 of the first quarter, still nothing. They kick a field goal, and like you're staring at the board going, wow, I've got a team minus 12, and first quarter's over, and they're down 3-0. You're never happy, right? You're like, ugh, all right, this ain't going my way. So just picture that. Like Baltimore doesn't score first. Carolina scores first, you're you're minus 12, you're screwed. So for me, I'm going to stick. For me, it's a dog or pass spot. I don't know that Baltimore's defense is good enough to blow anybody out here, especially with a competent QB and a competent running back going on for the
Carolina's
Panthers.
Getting a decent amount of money on them. When you look at that on the handles.
Yeah, so they are sharp side mother. Well,
yeah.
So I'm on the sharp side.
Look at where the line has been coming down. So
probably something we want to get on pretty quick. I think as the thought of Baker disseminating and maybe slightly better quarterback play gets out there, you might see this line go as low as minus 10.
Yeah, I think you definitely want to get this at a minimum 10.5. So if you like the if you like Carolina, I would jump on it now, even over the 11. The 11's not as critical a number, but I'll take as many as I can. Now you see there, you're getting 12.5 at minus 114. Like I would go ahead and just take a 12 and with a little less juice, right? The 12 shouldn't come into play. So just a little thing there. So when I see something like that where 12.5 is the best line,
I could probably squeeze it down to minus 109 or minus.
Yeah, I would go down. Like if you have bar stools, I could take a 12 at minus 109. I'd rather do that. I'll save the 5 cents and take the 12. It shouldn't come into play. So just you don't always want the best line. You have to take into account where the juice is as well. So
I like that.
Or that'll help you with in the app. It will certainly help you.
Or maybe push it past 13. Maybe go to 13.5 and pay minus 120. So I could see that also. But yeah, I'm on the Panther side of this one. I like it even better with Mayfield. I'm not a Mayfield guy, but I like it even better with Mayfield here. And for DFS purposes, only Dante Foreman really stands out for me. There's one other player, though, I'm a little interested in. If Andrews is out, and I don't think he will be, but if he was out, I'd have some interest in Isaiah Likely in this spot. And, DJ Moore is kind of in that mix of people that you kind of always are somewhat interested in every week. And, I think Mayfield being in there doesn't actually really make me like it or dislike it. It's kind of same thing for DJ Moore. So, a couple little pieces here, but nothing too exciting. All right, let's move on. Next up, John, we've got the Browns heading out to Buffalo to take on angry Josh Allen. Josh is angry, bro. He's gonna want to punish someone. That loss last week was really rough. It was just crazy at the end of that game. I've never seen anything quite like it. The catch of the year by Justin Jefferson, all of that. Now, Bills are at home. Angry Bills taking on the Browns. Browns last week before the return of Deshaun Watson. And I got to tell you, John, I don't love the 8. I wish it was a 7. I wish it was a 6.5. But I think we get angry Allen here out to put a beating on the Browns.
A lot of people think that we're actually, the info that we're getting from the sportsbook is they're going to need the Browns in this game, 8.5. And you see, this is a game where you're getting some differential. DraftKings giving you the best price on Cleveland, FanDuel the best price on Buffalo. I don't think you're going to get anything better than 7.5 if you like Buffalo. So I would jump over there and grab that again. I don't know if I might just take the minus 114 and stay off the 8. If I like the Buffalo side here, 41.5 on the total is pretty low. It's a low total. We're not getting anything on the game any info other than that.
I really love this over as well.
Yeah, I kind of like the over. The model agrees with you, 44.5 on there. Model thinks this game should be a little tighter on the spread. I understand why, as someone who does a lot of these like statistical analysis, I could totally understand why that it's showing that, because statistically now in my model, I still have Buffalo as the number 1 team here because I don't solely focus on results, wins and losses. It's taking a lot of other factors in and yardage. So I mean, when you lose a game like they lost last week, it doesn't totally kill them in my model, and it wouldn't in the AI model that we have inside the app as well. But I can understand why the model would have it this way, where Buffalo should only be a 5.5 point favorite. And that line, I think the total to me stands out a little bit more than the line. But I guess, when you look at it, Buffalo's defense, obviously pretty dominant.
It's already at 44?
That's the AI model.
We're okay. I was going to say,
yeah.
Oh, I was like, whoa, that line moved real quick. I just said it.
Yeah, 44.5 is what the model thinks it should be. And, you can see how this line has moved in, it kind of peaked at 9.5 and then it's come back down.
By the way, guys, again, a reminder, if you want these tools like what John has, the line movement charts, the odds comparison, the AI models, it's all available on Sharp app. So make sure you download its free app.
Look at that total.
Free info.
Yeah, look at the total.
Yeah, it's just been bet down like crazy. I would love to understand what the catalyst was for that being bet down. I don't know what it is. I can't, there's no real news
coming in on the under.
A lot. I don't get it. Like I said, Cleveland defense has not been very good. They're particularly rough. They're probably the worst team or one of the worst teams in the league against the run. And so it's just surprising because, Buffalo now, Singletary had a big week, but Josh Allen's basically running back. So I don't really get it.
Yeah,
I think the thought here is probably that Cleveland will have a hard time scoring. But if that was the case, then the spread would be wider. So I love this over. I love this over in this game. And I think the Bills alone, without allowing the Bills should be able to get 30 plus points going in this game. So we're not asking the Browns to score a whole lot here to get us over 41. So that would be my favorite play on this one. I think I like the Bills to cover as well. Now, as for DFS angles, I have no problem going right back to Josh Allen again. Josh Allen is basically a 30-point machine. He's always pretty much going to get you 30. Even in his bad games, he gets you 25. So he is like high floor, plenty of ceiling available. I like Fields a little bit more. Fields, you're saving $1,000 in salary on DraftKings compared to Allen. But I kind of like Fields just better anyway because he's doing so much more running than any other quarterback right now. You got to keep on that trend. Trend is your friend. I'm not worried about it. But Allen is my second favorite quarterback on the slate outside of, after Fields. And I'm going to load up. I don't like a ton of the players this week, so I'm loading up on the ones that I like. And as far as pairings with Allen, I think anybody works. Anyone goes. If it's Diggs, if it's Knox, if it's Gabriel Davis, it doesn't matter. One of them's going to go off, and there's no rhyme or reason to who that might be. I don't think you need to bring back on Cleveland at all. I don't really like the pieces from Cleveland for offense. You like anything from Cleveland here? Or?
No. Because I know you're not you don't typically like taking Chubb, and I wouldn't take him in this. This is not one of his better spots here. Yeah, you just don't want to target the Buffalo defense, and so I would agree with you. I'm not touching.
Yeah, I've got nothing on. I listen. I've been enjoying Donovan Peoples-Jones, the People's wide receiver.
Yeah,
the last few weeks, but
that was a good play.
This ain't the spot. This ain't the spot.
Absolutely not.
All right, next up, we've got Washington at Houston. This is a 40.5-point total, very low total here, John. Houston, worst team in the league against the running back position, but Washington runs three different guys, and I think McKissick might be back this week. So I was hoping if McKissick wasn't back that maybe we can kind of focus in on like a Robinson Jr. or maybe even Gibson in a spot like this and get confident with it, but I don't really love it. At the helm for Washington, Heineke's looked pretty good last few weeks. He's got a nice connection with Terry McLaurin, TM Sizzles. So while I don't want to be playing, I'm not interested in Heineke. I do kind of like, I think McLaurin is a viable play on the Washington side. And for Houston, the only player that you can even take a sniff of is Dameon Pierce at this point. And I think it's a perfectly acceptable matchup for Dameon Pierce. Now, Washington on the road, 3.5-point favorites at Houston. Any betting angles here? Obviously, it's crossing over that 3-point barrier that you'd kind of like to see it not cross over, but there it is.
Yeah, so the info that we got from the offshore book was they got sharp money at 2.5 come in on Washington, but they're also getting square money in on Washington. Now, that has obviously pushed this over the 3. And I've mentioned this before, but when you move from 2.5 to 3, that's such a more significant move than let's say we were talking about that previous game with Carolina. If Carolina moves from 13 to 11.5, that's a 1.5 difference. Not nearly as significant as if you move from 2.5 to 3 or 3 to 3.5. So just keep that in mind. It's not necessarily the amount of points. It's, are you moving on and off these key numbers? So that's a pretty good move to get it from 2.5 to 3, and now 3.5 in some spots. And but what's interesting is we're seeing a little bit of a conflict on the handles. Now, sometimes that's going to happen, right? The handles are a conglomerate of the entire market. And then the sharp report that's inside the app in the content section of the app, that's telling you specifically one specific book, offshore book, a pretty sharp offshore book. And I always kind of defer to that one because we're getting good info. So when there's a differential there, I like to defer to what the information that we're getting from the sharp app, because that's coming straight from the
the sharp report. We are literally getting the numbers, so we see the specifics of liabilities on certain sports books, and oh wow, they're gonna lose X amount of dollars if this team wins. We get it all the way down to the dollar, to the dollar.
And then when you look at, and that's when I'll start to really look at the chart here when you're looking at where the line is moved. So to move from 2.5 to 3.5 or 3, that backs up what we're getting on the sharp report more so than what we're seeing here, right? So as of right now, you're actually seeing more bets come in, at least on the handles, than Houston. And then for some reason, it's showing a lot more money on the Houston side. But I would look, you got to piece these all. It's a puzzle, and you got to piece it all together. I would lean more towards the sharp money coming in here on the Washington side as of right now, just because the way the line has moved. And then that makes more sense to me. And we'll see if these handles change as the week goes on. Now, the market, or the AI model, thinks Washington as well. It likes this as a 6-point favorite and 41 on the total, which is pretty close to where it's at. So it seems like everything is pointing towards Washington. Here's my problem with the game from a betting standpoint is that was a massive win on Monday night for Washington. You're now, classic letdown spot to go into Houston, a team that you should beat. And now you're in that situation where you could let down. So I'm worried about that. I was just talking with before we humped on here. I did the Survivor pool. So I was just doing my video, or I did my Survivor video, and then I had one of my buddies who I'm in a pool with, and we've got to make double picks. And one's easy. We're taking Baltimore, but the second choice is a bunch of 3-point favorite teams. Washington right now kind of stands out as the best one, but that's my concern, is that they go into Houston coming off that big win against Philly and lay an egg here in this game. So I think that's the concern I would have. But otherwise, they should really be able to cover this 3.5 points.
I want to get into just a little DFS strategy with you for a second here before we move on, because there's something I've been thinking about. So I did a show on Monday, and we did the weekend review here, which I do every single week, where we look back at what won Millie Maker or different GPP wins, what won in cash this week, what won in tournaments. And in the fun part is we try to replicate it using the DFS Army Domination Station Optimizer backtest mode and say, oh, could we have done this? And this week we had one of our staffers, Scotty Newman, on the show. And Scott's won. He's a FanDuel focused player, right? He doesn't do much on DraftKings. He's very much a FanDuel guy. And he took down his fourth, early only tournament of the year, which is really incredible considering there have only been 10 of them. And he's won 4 of them already. And he had first place, fourth place, seventh place. So I thought it was a really cool distribution. And I wanted to kind of talk to him about what he did. And Scott has a very, very repeatable system. You're one of the top. You are, for my opinion, you are the top DFS mass multi-entry player in the world. You're the best. Fuck those other guys, right? Number one. So his approach kind of reminds me a little bit. I've looked at your distributions and how you approach the game, and his approach was very similar. It's very much like, I don't spend a lot of time tinkering with this stuff. I've got a certain kind of stack that I like to use. I have a certain amount of each position. Like I set a max of 30% essentially on every single position group. Now I started to think about the math of that. And I think there's a math like 30%. I started to think about the 30% math. And is 30% enough of a player that you really like to say, does any player have more than 30% odds of kind of being in the nuts that week, first of all? And I started to think about it, and the answer is probably no. Right? It's probably rare that a player has a higher than 30% chance of actually being in the nuts lineup. So philosophically, what we talked about on that show and what we showed was, hey, if you just kind of stack quarterbacks with 2 of their pass catchers each week, have a couple players that you like. Just make sure that you're getting at least 30% exposure to your cores or your favorite players on the slate at any position group, and just let it rip. If your projections are good enough, which we have at DFS Army, some of the best projections that exist. So you combine those factors, and it's like, hey, you don't have to spend too much time doing this. You could just run this, be formulaic about it, 3 uniques, set a cap on ownership, and let it rip. So I wanted to sort of run that by you and say, hey, when you hear that as an approach for DFS and attacking GPP, how does that jive with your approach?
It's pretty similar. I mean, he's definitely on the right path there, and his success has shown that. So I think we tinker too much. Typically, I think everyone starts tinkering too much to try to, I like to use the projections. I incorporate a few other things into my projections, but I use the DFS Army projections as well into what I'm doing. And then, the ownership projections I think are really crucial as well, because I want to see, that 30% number that's sort of a guideline. When you say, does anyone really have a 30% chance of being in the nuts lineup? Really depends, because if 60% of people are playing a player, well, just the mere fact that 60% are playing that player increases their chances, even if they don't score that nut score. If they get something respectable, oftentimes you'll see it this is in every sport where there's just so many people have them, and there's so many combinations of that player in the field that oftentimes they're going to land in the nuts lineup, even if they weren't necessarily the nuts.
Not the optimal, not the actual
right.
optimal, right? But could be in the nuts because everybody uses that. Happens in smaller tournaments. You don't really see 60% owned players for the most part in an NFL.
You don't see it in NFL. Yeah, you'll get, NBA, you could get that, smaller slates, things like that. Certainly in the smaller slate, you get a four game slate NFL, then you're talking, you could see 60, 70, 80%
start to see
sometimes.
that. Yeah, and these early onlys. They're usually like a 6 game.
It's like 7.
Yeah,
it's been 7 the last couple of weeks. I do better in those as well. I couldn't tell you the exact reason why. The one I took down this year was an early. I've done better on those shorter slates, but
I haven't been playing them.
I think I always play them. Yeah, no, but I do think people tinker too much. A lot of people, it was funny because when I took it down, I had if you remember the lineup, I had like 2 Jets, and it was like Conklin.
Yeah, it was Conklin.
Nobody played Conklin.
And I was like, how the hell did you get Conklin in?
Right. And it's like, I got Conklin because, I didn't necessarily like Conklin, but he got lucky, and he wound up in that lineup.
Projection just popped him in there for what, 5%? He's one of those low.
He was like 3% owned. I might have had 5% of them that week, and you just got to get lucky with the combinations. People hate to hear that. They want to hear, like, because I had people the following week go, hey, who's the Conklin this week? I said, listen, I didn't know Conklin was Conklin last week. I couldn't tell you. I wish I could tell you. I'd love to tell you, but we don't know who that low owned guy is. We all focus this show. Most shows, they're going to focus on who the top plays are of the week, and you should as well. And then you have to understand that someone's going to pop. That's why it's more of an MME strategy, of course, but someone's going to pop that no one really expected. I mean, that's just the way it's going to be, and that's part of the MME. So that's why I like to be, for the most part, I like to be fairly close to where the market is, and I'm going to be above and below. If I knew exactly what ownership was going to be, I still wouldn't be drastically above or below typically most players. And then where I'm going to get my advantage is that bottom sub 5% owned type of players, and I'm going to have more of those in my combinations than others will. And then you just have to hope
they're just kind of trickling their way into lineups. Let the optimizer do the work.
Right.
For me, the issue primarily was because I do love to tinker, and I'm trying to get away from it a little bit. I don't feel like I have enough time to hammer the afternoon, the early only, the main slate. And it's like so many things because I'm spending so much time with each run to try to tinker and get exactly to get my sort of philosophy of the slate onto the screen and onto the output. But, it's probably better to get your sort of your research philosophically of the slate more into your high dollar. Like, you don't do a lot of these type of entries, but like for me, my smaller tournaments where I could just handcraft, for the 150s or those like the spies and the 150s, those kind of contests where you're really looking to handcraft a winner against 1,000 people. Well, I don't really MME those, but what happens is I get so tied up either in doing those or in like tweaking away on my 150 for the main slate, then I'm like, I ain't got time for, to do an afternoon. So the formulaic approach where you can run it quick and just say, hey, let me do 2, 3, 4 quick adjustments, but not too much. Run a standard approach, have a repeatable set of, do you have a repeatable for your personal game? I'm not saying to say what they are. You have a repeatable set of options that you use on the optimizer that's like, hey, here's how many uniques I use. This is my max. And while I might tweak a little bit here or there, these standard things kind of remain the same for me every single week. And boom, I'm going to let it rip.
Yeah, for the most part, that is true. I think everyone should do that. Because I just think what winds up happening is you drive yourself crazy. Two, you start, I've said this all the time, like have a game plan and then just go with the game.
You start chasing what you did last week.
You start chasing. So if you have that game plan, it's going to listen. I've got killed myself the last couple of weeks, but the week prior I hit big, right? So I'm going to have weeks where I just get killed. And then some weeks where I'm going to pop one, and you've got to be willing to do that. This is, if you're just playing NFL, let's say that's all you do is play the NFL. You need to grade yourself on the season, not 1 week or not one slate. And that's the key, right? So I don't expect to win every single week. Like I just chalk it up. I'm like, okay, well, that's one of my losing weeks, and I'll go get them next week and see how it goes. But I'm going to play that same strategy. And now that could be a number of things. It could be, I'm going to play heavily, I'm going to heavy game stack everything, even though right now, these heavy game stacks in this week doesn't look like a very good game stackable week. But if that's your strategy, go ahead and do it every week, because the week I won was a big game stack. I had the Detroit, Seattle game stack. It was
all the heavy game stack.
I'm sorry, that was a different week, but that was the week I almost hit the millie, right? Was the Detroit, Seattle game stack. So if you're doing that every week, it sucks. You're not hitting, you're losing, but you may have 2 or 3 weeks this year where that does pan out, and possibly those are the ones you're going to pop because everyone else has gotten away from that. So I like to just stick with the game plan. You've got your bankroll for the season, roll with it, and don't try to look at what happened last week and take your lineup. Oh, well, this happened last week. Just, and then like if you're a stacking guy, now you're like, well, Fields, I could play Fields naked. I don't need to stack him with anybody. Like just play your strategy, play your system, and let it play out over the course of the season. That's how I like to do it.
Yeah, I love it. I love talking a little strategy and that kind of stuff. That really is something that we've talked about a lot. And one of the ways, for DFS Army subscribers to really kind of feel confident, and this is what the other thing that we talk about a lot is, and no one listens, by the way, or I'm not going to say no one listens. Most don't listen, and that's a reason why you should listen if you're watching this, because most won't do it. And that's back test your system so you can gain the confidence in it to say, oh, wow, you know what? We have the ability for you to go back the last 2 or 3 years worth of NFL and back test every single slate, early only, whatever you want. And so come up with a system and now say, well, I don't know, I don't believe it works. How about then go back and test it over 36, 38, 50 actual real life slates in back test mode. The projections look exactly like they did. We don't change them. They are what they were. And if you use an approach so you would write down what the winner of a tournament was for that week. You have to be able to discover that number. But once you could do it it's harder to get actually on FanDuel. DraftKings is really easy to find what won tournaments each week. FanDuel is quite difficult to find, but you can. And you run your system and say, oh, in the course of 2 seasons, did I ever hit a first place lineup? Did I hit 2 or 3 of them over the course of a couple of years? And if you did, you know what? You would have made a ton of money. I mean, a fortune. So if you hit a first place even just once, you found a system that probably could work for you long term. And you'll have now the confidence to do it because you're like, wow, you know what? I ran the system. I did it. I back tested 36 slates. I ran this approach, and boom, on 3 of them, I actually produced a lineup that would have taken it down. If that's not enough for you, and now when you lose the first week that you do it, you're like, well, I don't care because I ran 36 slates and 2 times in 2 years I won. So if I run the next 36, there's a reasonable chance that at some point over the next 2 years, you will win 1 or 2 tournaments using that approach. So you might as well stick with it because you ain't winning shit the way you're doing it now.
Exactly. I know we don't want to harp on it too long, but quickly, remember, we've got 18 main slates, basically full main slates in NFL. That's half an NBA month, right? So it's like it's tough. I mean, you could go an extended period of time and just not winning anything in the NFL. So manage your expectations there as well. You know, in the NBA, we've got months and months. If you play hockey or baseball, any of these other sports, you're playing it every day, and you could tinker. So, and we all love the NFL. We focus on the NFL. It's much easier to get yourself to want to start switching in the NFL week in, week out, because you've got a week in between
what happened
when you
last
play
week.
And you're watching a million podcasts and you're listening to the radio, you know, all this stuff. So have your game plan, stick with it. I mean, that's the name of the show. And you'll probably have more success doing that.
I love it, guys. And hit us up in the comments if you're watching here and you're, you know, do you have a game plan, right? Do you have an approach for your MME every single week? Do you repeat it, or are you chasing your tail every week? You know, one week it's QB +1, the next week it's QB +2, it's 3 uniques, it's 1 unique, it's going 100% on your cores, going, you know, lower on your cores. And have you been chasing your tail, or have you been running a system and has it been working for you? Hit us up. Let us know in the comments as you watch this. I'm genuinely curious on how people do it. All right, let's keep going, John. Let's keep going. Eagles, Colts. We got 43.5 point total here. Colts 6.5 point home underdogs in this one. And, you know, the Eagles are coming off the quote unquote first loss. Got to take that L. Everybody got to take an L. I think it's good for them. It's healthy. Good, healthy loss they took last week. A little bit of humble pie on what has been a spectacular season. And the Colts, you know, the Jeff Saturday bump is going on. Like, the offensive line's like, shit, we got an O lineman as our head coach. We better step it up. This guy's not gonna deal with us screwing around. And all of a sudden they were good last week, and they had the great game. Jonathan Taylor did his thing. Matt Ryan to Paris Campbell was working. So how do you see this one going down?
Well, I don't have any bets on the game, but what we've got here, I'll first go over the line of 6.5, 44 on the total. And the over was where the sharp money came in, right? Over, and it was at 43.5, and the line has gone over. So again, that's a curious one to me. When the sharps come in on a side, and yet the line moves counter to that, it throws a red flag up to me. Not that the sharps didn't bet it. We're confident that the sharps came in and bet it, but why did that line move higher? So I would put less weight on that sharp. If you like to just follow, if you're in the app and you're following the sharp report, which I do on a daily basis, I think I hate to go off on a tangent, but when you're when you're in the app, and I do these TikTok videos and I try to point it out in the videos, like just blindly following anything, the model that we have, anyone's model, you know, whatever your strategy is, come up with your own model. You know, a model doesn't mean that you have to understand how to write macros in Excel. Your model could be strictly like, my first thing is I go look at the sharp report. I'm going to only play sharp bets. Okay, that's your model. But I'm going to filter them out where I want the AI prediction model to agree with it, and then I'm just going to play those. Or I want the AI model to agree with it and the line move to sort of be in sync. Then you're going to filter out the games, and you're going to get yourself, you're going to win at a higher rate, because now you're taking good systems, and when you pair a good system, a winning system, with another winning system, it produces an even better winning system. I'm not going to go over the math of that, but
I would add in and only do bets that John does.
Well, you could do that as well. Or right. I mean, you can even just take my pro picks, Anthony's pro picks, and say, okay, if it agrees with whatever other system that you want to look at, I'm just going to play those. Unfortunately, most sports bettors, they want to bet every single game. Like, you know, listen, I've been doing this. We're in the Discord. If I don't have a bet on a Sunday night game, everyone wants to know, well, who do you like? And I'm like, well, if I like somebody, I would have told you that's the bet. But everyone, most people are doing this for entertainment. I'm like, I'm not putting my money on a game I don't like just to have some entertainment. For me, it's like a night off. I don't have to actually, sweat out a game. So for me, I don't mind missing a game here and there. I've got enough bets out there. But yeah, on this game, again, when we look at that over, so that would give me a little bit of caution, right? That 43.5. And then I look at, I would go down and see, like, where's the line move that they had it. Where has the total moved? And it's kind of bounced up and down here, but they took it to the over, and now it's
looks like it went as high as plus 45. And now it's kind of moved back down to plus 44.
Or it's just rare that the sharps get the worst of it. And they just look like they got in at almost the worst price that they could have at 43.5. So I'd have a little bit of caution that maybe the sharps hit the wrong side here. So maybe this game goes over. Now you got the flip of what we were talking about. The Eagles lost their first game. Do they come out here fired up? You're playing a Colts team now, just had a huge win. Sort of emotional win here with Saturday as the new coach. They throw Matt Ryan back in there. Are they going to rally around Matt Ryan? Do they have a letdown off a game like that? I don't know. So we'll see how that one plays out. When you look at it's interesting on the handles that how much more money's coming in on the Colts. Now it's early in the week. A lot of that could just be money that came in at a better price. I don't know for sure because when we look at where the line was, this was an Ellinger initial line. Because the line is looking a week out, right?
Yeah, that movement happened before this game.
Right. Yeah. So some of that money, some of that Colt money might have come in while that line was still pretty elevated. So I think that's what you're seeing on the handles right now. So yeah, interesting game. I don't know if you like. I don't know if you like anything here. I don't particularly like any of the sides here. I like a bunch of games, but we haven't gotten to any of them yet.
No, this is not one of the games that I'm super. What I like to do with the Eagles, I'll keep it real, is I like to wait till I talk to Gargano. He's so honed in on that local team. I don't even want to make a prediction because then I just wait to talk to Gargano. Like, you have your system, I got mine. That's my system.
That is a system. Like, you trust his picks, and you're like, okay, if he agrees with something I like, and then I'm going to fire away at it.
My guy calls me up like before the game on Monday, and he goes, Geekus, because he calls me Geekus. He says, Geekus, I like bet the over on this one. Just points. Points is coming. I'm like, points? What? Commander's going to score against Eagles defense? Is like, high scoring game, bro. Just fucking do it. Okay.
All right, hold on. All right. Did I tell you the sharp money was coming in under? Did I say that?
Was that last week?
Or no, did I just say that?
You said over accidentally. You meant under, I believe.
No, it is over. It is on the over. So I think I confused myself. So the line has actually moved.
The whole thing, I was like, man, is he saying over, but meaning under?
Right. I got myself totally confused.
Yeah.
Over. So it has moved. So then that's a good sign. So that's a good sign that the over is actually in play.
And they are betting the over. So there you go. So
I just double
scratch off everything John just said.
Everything I said, but do listen to what I said in other instances, but not in this particular game.
I was like,
so then you know what, I got confused. If you bring it back up, the handles are showing a lot more money on the under. So I just double checked the sharp report, and the money is coming in on the over, and it has moved to the over. So if you do like the over, that does look like the sharp side. So I apologize there for confusing anybody.
I was like, I don't know. He's confused if I'm mishearing or what's going on here.
I'm easily confused, but doing a few things at the same time. But yes, I apologize. I'm glad I double checked that. The sharp money was on the over. The line they took it at 43.5. So they did get the best of it. They got it at a good price.
Okay. And that is, the sharps tend to be on the good side of things. They rarely make mistakes as far as that goes. All right. Where are we? Eagles game. So DFS angles, right? Actually, let me just go right back to it here. DFS angles, man, I don't have a lot here, right? Colts, Eagle, Hurts is priced up. Hurts is my least favorite of the three sort of sexy quarterbacks on the slate. So I'm starting right there. You give me Allen, you give me Fields, you got Hurts priced up right in between those two. I like Hurts the least of them. And the reason is I just don't know that he has the same exact ceiling. I love him. He does what we need. He runs. He can run for a touchdown, but I just think Fields is a little better. I think Allen's a little better. So given the choice between the three, he's my number 3 choice. There's nothing I can do about that. I don't know. My phones are going crazy here. Nothing I can do about that. I like him the least of the three. I do like that with Goddard now out for these guys that Smith and A.J. Brown probably going to get a little bit more secure pass volume compared to other games. So if there ever was a time to get down with A.J. Brown, it's probably in this game, in this spot, stacked up with Hurts. On the flip side, I don't really, like I said, I continue to not like to target wide receivers against the Colts, against the Eagles defense. So Pittman, Campbell, I guess, but not super excited. I do like that. I like them a lot better with Ryan at the helm. But Jonathan Taylor, you have to be interested in Jonathan Taylor. He is a beast. He's priced very, very cheaply compared to his historic production. He's still priced down relative to his history. So I'm all about it. I'll get on Jonathan Taylor this week. I don't mind. The matchup isn't the best, but it just does not matter too much to me. If I take a look at, our points against sheet that you so generously provide for us here at DFS Army, we could see that. Let me just get to it here. The Colts, really good against wide receivers, kind of mediocre against all other positions. But the Eagles, yeah, you could run on them a little bit, right? Like, they're not above average against the run. They're slightly below average, and that is a beautiful thing. What do you say here, John?
Yeah, I mean, on the whole, as far as you're bringing up the
we're already on the
next
next
game
one.
there, yeah. But the as far as from the DFS standpoint, yeah, I'm fine with actually taking Pittman in this game. I actually kind of like Pittman more at that price than Brown, but I do like Hurts, so I don't mind. I don't like any games as a heavy stack, but I could get behind Hurts, maybe a cheaper option, and pass up on Brown, and then having Pittman as a comeback.
Yeah,
it's a little expensive, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it in this game. And the reason is it's going to be the common theme here. I don't love a ton of these games, so you got to take somebody. And with Ryan coming back here, I do think it gives Pittman a little bit of a bump.
Yeah, I don't think you need to game stack it at all. Just our team game stack it, but team stacks for sure. And again, I just look for both sides. And there's on the call, just pieces. And like I said, Taylor, okay on the Colts. And usually this isn't a Miles Sanders spot. It's Hurts or bust. But like I said, for me, I like the other quarterbacks on the slate a little bit more than Hurts at the stud zone. A little more. Still like Hurts. He made my list. He will be on my cheat sheet. But I just kind of put a note in there like, cash games or prime tight builds, Allen, Fields, GPP, Jalen, who I love, but just in this spot, a little less good than the others. All right. Jets at the Patriots, 38-point total. Patriots at home, 3-point favorites. Jets coming off a bye week, John. They, pretty good start to the season. Your rival, Jets, are doing it with their defense this year. Really good defensive team, getting to the quarterback, doing all that stuff. What do you think of this line, though? Patriots at home, -3. Man, Belichick knows how to kind of confuse young quarterbacks. Should get some turnovers. Good defense here. I don't really know what to do with it.
Yeah, you would think you would think so. But like you said, the Jets have really been relying on their defense. And we'll look at it in a sec with the DFS points, the fantasy points that on that spreadsheet. But if you look at the Jet defense there, I mean, they're just basically above average against every position.
This is beyond above average, by the way. I just want to point out, as a Jets fan, you never see this. The Jets are one of the best defensive teams in the league right now. Now, they don't have like so the greener, the better the defense. The redder, the worse the defense. That's what these numbers imply. And if you look at the Jets, they are allowing almost 3 points below average to opposing quarterbacks. They're stopping running backs really well. They're really stopping wide receivers. And oh, by the way, Sauce Gardner, an actual star. Elite cornerback. Thank you. Finally.
Yeah, and they're playing an offense this week that, it's kind of a bit of an inept offense as well. Then I'm not a very good.
The Patriots can't do a whole lot on offense. They don't have good wide receivers. Jacoby Myers and a bunch of ne'er-do-wells. I do like Ramondre and what they have going on at running back, but it's the Patriots and the Jets play very similar right now. I actually think the Patriots quarterback is probably better, but the Jets defense is better. So
Yeah, no, I agree. And what's shocking is I've got the Jets 6th right now in the power rankings. It's pretty amazing.
This must be. Is there a John bet on this game? I mean,
I'm not betting the game, but I am leaning. I'm leaning on the Jets side here. I just think the teams are too close. I'm going to take the 3.5 points. It didn't fit any of my system models as far as a bet. When you look at it, the AI model that we have in the app, though, certainly likes the Jets, and it likes this game to go over. I mean, 38.5, obviously from a DFS standpoint, it's like, all right, we don't want to touch this. I can't see anything that is particularly good in this game. You see where the line has gone from 5.5, it's gone down. I'm going to, I don't know where the total.
I'm sure the sharp money was coming in. So now you see the betting handle data, but this is deceiving. So it's actually a good little opportunity to understand deceiving betting handles data. Scroll back up to the line movement, right? And you see that, of course, this was plus 5.5. This was. Let's understand what's going on here. So it started off at minus 5.5 New England, and it's now -3.
Right.
So a lot of the money, and you see here in the betting handles, the money was coming in. Actually, that's going reverse of what I'm thinking.
It's going. So it's actually, so it's actually opposite of what you would expect. But what I think is this line moved. So the line moved down to that 3.5 fairly quickly. What's tricky here is, and what I would suggest for everyone to do is kind of, I don't know if I mentioned this on the show last week, but I was telling someone this where, if you screenshot it every week, I think I mentioned on the show, kind of screenshot them every week and see, like on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then see, because then you'll get a good idea of where the money was coming in at what line, right? So if you look at it earlier in the week, and if this was like 90% New England money and now it's 72, well, it's going to be a little deceiving because now the money's starting to come in on the Jets, which I think is what's happening here. So money's starting to come in on the Jets. That's why the line is moving down towards the Jets. And I think what you're going to see is more money come in on the Jets as the week goes on. So you got to try to monitor it.
Yeah, we'll see later as the week progresses. Maybe that number, that handle will start floating more on the percentage, on the money percentage side to the Jet side as that line has I really don't get it. You would think that really more of the money should have been coming in on the Jets at plus 5.5, not at plus 3.5.
As a general rule, the line, that line movement chart is really going to trump all, because that's 100% official information. You never know if the sportsbooks, because the sportsbooks are letting the handle information out, right? So sometimes you don't know if they're playing games, right? But they can't play any games with the point spread. The spread is what the spread is, and if it's moving in one direction, you can be sure they're moving it in that direction for a reason.
Like the implication here, this is what I'm saying, is the implication is that the bets have been coming in on the Jets plus 5.5, Jets plus, which makes sense for our analysis, right? You would think the money was coming on the Jets. So this handle data is a little bit weird to me, and it's kind of throwing me off. But I do believe, based on the line movement, that the bets are coming in on the Jets, and that, for example, right now you can get plus 3.5 on some books, and you want to hit that because we might see it cross over to +3 or only +2.5, where I don't want them +2.5. I'm interested at +3.5. I think the only way the Patriots really dominate this game is just like if they dominate defensively, and they can. Zach Wilson, like I said, not a very good quarterback at all. A turnovers prone type of quarterback. I don't like him. He's not taken the next step at all for me. I still see a kid who is out there sort of just confused.
They should have drafted Fields.
Listen, I'm not even going to say me and Seslowski, my boy, Alan Seslowski, we talk all the time about this. And we joke, because we're both Jets fans, that this isn't some hindsight thing. Like we did whole podcasts, like, please take Fields.
But Fields is a perfect quarterback for a great defensive team. Which
it's horrible. Don't remind me.
So it really would have been working out well if they could have got Fields to the point where he is now, and maybe they wouldn't have. With this coaching staff, I don't know.
My whole point of it was like their offense is so crap anyway. Bring in a running quarterback, because those guys don't need an offense around them to win a game. If you surround a running quarterback with a good defense and a decent running back, like, you don't need to throw the ball, as we're seeing now in the NFL. So it really pissed me off. It pissed me off that they didn't draft him. Don't get me started. It almost ruined my fandom, John. It almost took it away from me.
I mean,
like,
is that that's finally like with all the messes the Jets have made? Like that was finally the straw.
I've said, you know what? You did me dirty with Darnold. You did me dirty. And now, but I forgave Darnold because I was like, yeah, okay, take Darnold. Like I didn't personally have the knowledge to say don't do that. This was the one where we were like, no, don't do this. And they did it. And I had no enthusiasm. The first time in my life I ever had no enthusiasm for a first round quarterback Jets pick. Like, imagine being a fan of your team and being like, this guy's going to suck. And you just know it. Well, and as much as I enjoy his milfing proclivities and the jokes that follow, the actual player, not very good yet. I hope it turns it around. No one hopes more than me. Jets fan, I'm dreaming about it, but you know something? He ain't turning around. He ain't turning around. Now DFS angles for this game. Yeah, Ramondre.
Oh, Ramondre. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But even still, I'm not.
It's not super exciting.
Ramped. Yeah.
I think your boy Taylor Conklin. First of all, I'm a little insulted that you didn't say Taylor Conklin. That's your boy, 100K winner. You always got to play some Tyler. You should have a Tyler Conklin jersey on for this show.
He's not a terrible player this week.
I don't mind Tyler Conklin. All right, let's move on. That game, not super exciting. Another 39-pointer, not super exciting here. Let's not load up on players from 39-point total games.
No, yeah.
Guys, just in general, it's not.
Those are going to be your cheap, like a Conklin. Those are going to be your cheap one-off type plays.
You get a one-off from this one, but Rams.
Was that against New England? That was against New England that I hit. It was
Conklin?
Yes.
Yeah, we got to go back to
the New England game.
Maybe we got to go back to Conklin and Garrett Wilson. I don't know.
I had Wilson and Conklin against New England. They did absolutely nothing, the Jets, except for those two guys.
Yeah, those two guys.
Sometimes. Yeah.
That was a miracle.
Yeah.
Although we were all over Garrett Wilson, the Dom Station like freebie of the week was Garrett Wilson that week, but there was no Conklin being given out.
No.
So we got the Rams at the Saints, 39-point total. Saints home, 4-point favorites here. Unclear who the quarterback will be for the Rams in this one, but what we do know is Cooper Kupp on the shelf, maybe for the rest of the season. Ruinous to many a fantasy football team. There is no recovery from a Cooper Kupp season ender. No recovering from that. I've got a team with Jamar Chase on IR. I've got about 4 teams with Cooper Kupp on IR, and it is just ruining my week. Can't recover from it.
No, when that's like draft. Well, having Taylor as your first pick, you're probably not doing well either.
Not the almost league, so he got injured. He hadn't even really been hurt so much as he just sucked. He hurt for a couple of games. But here's the deal. There are actually DFS plays in this very low total game because Cooper Kupp is out. You do have to consider Allen Robinson and Van Jefferson as viable punts at the wide receiver position for the Rams. Now, I only like that if Stafford plays. If it's the backup, Wolford, not interested.
No, he's terrible.
I think the Saints are bringing Jameis Winston, a.k.a. Jameis Pick Sixton, back for this one. I'm sure he's good for a pick 6 or 2. That is what he is known for. But I don't think it actually hurts Olave, for example. And I think Olave is probably playable here. Although Rams defense is not one to necessarily trifle with. They haven't been that great this year, but they do have good players on the team. And we know I have talent in that defensive backfield, and they can get to the quarterback. So take it for whatever it's worth. I think you can still play Olave if you want, even though it's a different quarterback that hasn't really gotten it done with Olave yet. Anything else kind of stand out for you, John?
No, I mean, from the betting side, I do like the Rams here. I'm going to take the 4.5 points.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's too much. The model agrees with me. Likes this game should be, thinks it should be 1.5. Likes the over.
Wait, hold up. Oh, the Rams are +4. Okay. So you're taking the 4. All right.
Take a 4.5. Yeah. And then the model, like I said, agrees. You can see where this line, this is a tricky one too, because we've got different quarterbacks coming in.
Yeah. You don't care if it's not Stafford back there. You're fine with Wolford.
Yes. I'm going to be playing this one regardless. I don't know. I think Stafford's going to play.
I think Stafford actually does come back, and maybe you want to hit that line. You know what? Week 2, and it's now you know, as of Tuesday, this dude's still in the concussion protocol. What if it's one? I don't know. This I only want this bet, John, if Stafford plays. But
I think you could take a shot here now. Yeah. And then if you only want to play it with Stafford in, I think you'll have time to get yourself out of the bed if you wanted to.
So the play here is,
I like it.
You're playing it regardless. Here's my version of it. I like it with Stafford in there, but you could always buy your way out of a bet. So if you put the bet on now and we do find out it's Wolford as the starter, I don't like that very much. So I would probably back out of that one. But if you find out Stafford starting, you won't be able to get +4.5 because that number is going to move probably to +2 or +1.5.
I had it last week, like with Buffalo. I had Allen at, I forget what the line, like whatever it was, 4.5. Well, I had Buffalo at -4.5, and the anticipation was Allen wasn't going to play. Then he played. That line went up. So I got myself in a great spot. They go and lose the game. So sometimes you're smart, and it doesn't pay off anyway. Yeah, listen, but, you know,
I would take that all day. You give me -4 for the Bills against. I'll do it again. I'll do it again tomorrow. I'll do it again next day, every single day. So I have no problem. That was the right side to be on, no question. And you took a little chance. I did not think Allen would play, but I think you were kind of thinking even if Allen didn't play, they could win that game, which I thought.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well. Yeah,
absolutely.
All right, let's move on here. Next up, we have got the Lions at the Giants. And this one has a 45-point total. Giants at home, 3-point favorites. Now, talk about a game without a whole lot of DFS interest. Saquon Barkley obviously is always going to be interesting, but he's priced up so high for me at this point, John. He has not shown – the Giants just don't score frequently enough for the running back to produce 35s and 40s, right? They're not putting up enough touch. You need 3 touchdowns to get there, and they're not throwing a ton to Barkley. So I love the floor of Saquon Barkley, and it's as good of a matchup as you're ever going to see. It doesn't get much better than this one. I'll take a look at our sheet here, but Detroit is certainly not very good against the running back position. Actually, they're kind of average. They're actually worse against wide receivers and quarterbacks, according to this chart. But nonetheless, Detroit, not a very good defense at all. My issue here is just paying all the way up for Barkley is tough. And there's no one else on the Giants that you can really play unless you know of something that you could pair up Daniel Jones with that you're comfortable. I mean, Darius Slayton's priced way too high for what he does. Wan'Dale Robinson's kind of turned into a little bit of a bust, not a bust, but more of a unexciting guy. And this is not that much going on to stack Daniel Jones with. And on the Lions side, man, you can't trust Swift. We don't know what his volume is going to be. The running back position is just crazy. Outside of Amon-Ra, who the hell do you even play on Detroit?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could take a chance with Williams. But yeah, Amon-Ra is the best, probably the best player or best option, I think, maybe for both teams, to be honest with you. I mean, of course I like Saquon, but I think they just use him so much. They look his way so much, and I think we're going to get some points in this game relative to the rest of the games on the board. So that's St. Brown's probably my favorite play.
I think Amon-Ra. But by the way, and just pointing out again, back to this, as good as the Jets are, Giants are also really good.
Giants great against the wide receiver. It's
absolutely why they're winning.
Yes. They're in a much different situation, at least when I run my rankings, because they've just been winning games that they probably shouldn't win. So their record is a bit inflated, at least according to my listen. I think a lot of that has to do with the coach. So that's why I'm not totally in a fade the Giants. They're overachieving. I do think this coach, because you'll see that I've done this long enough with the rankings where you scratch your head about a team. Why is the record so good, but they're ranked so low in my rankings? Oftentimes it's the coach. I do like that coach quite a bit, and I think he's giving them a boost. But I still think they still might be the weakest team in the East. I don't know. I'm still going to put them over Washington, but they're certainly not in Philly's class and not in Dallas's class either. So, but record wise, everyone's getting excited about them. But I think they're going to come back down to earth here by the time
just to note, John publishes his power rankings on Sharp app as well. Sharp.app. You can get it on the website or via the app itself. Just go into the content section and you can pull up John's weekly power rankings, and a really, really great tool also for helping kind of figure out which teams are legit, which teams have good records and they're kind of legit, and which ones might be over or underperforming their records.
Yeah. Now, this is a weird one too. You know, you've got Detroit, like we mentioned earlier, first win for Campbell on the road. Now he's got to go back-to-back road games. Going to certainly a winnable game. I mean, the Giants, I kind of view them similar to Chicago. Like they're in a similar situation. Can they beat anybody? Sure. Can they lose to anybody? Absolutely. You know, but I mean, I could say that about 25 teams in the, league.
This is basically, this is the Chicago game all over again. It's a similar spread. And it's like, wow, it looks like an easy win for the Giants. They're this great team and Detroit sucks, but you know, Detroit can score. Yeah. Oh, you could definitely see. I am not laying the 3.
Well, I'm not laying I'm not taking the 3 either. Like, I just don't like the game. When I say let that, I can see, you know, obviously they're not going to take the Giants. They're an underdog. They're not going to take the game lightly, but that was a huge win for them. And that staff, that was a big win, divisional win, even though, listen, the Bears aren't the top team in that division, but to get that road win and to win it in the fashion that they did it, you know, kind of come from behind there, score a bunch of points. You could get a bit of a letdown situation in this game. The Giants are coming off a kind of ho-hum game against Houston. So we'll see how this one plays out. But the AI model does think the line should be a pick 'em. So it thinks these teams are a little closer to even.
The AI is saying take the points.
It's actually saying that Detroit's the better team because when you factor in the home field advantage, right? So it thinks Detroit's a better team than the Giants, which a lot of people are going to question. But when I look at my projection or my rankings as well, I have the Giants down somewhere in the 20s, I believe. So
where do you have Detroit?
I'll look at it right now for you. And while I'm doing that, hold on. I've got sort it. No, just a sort. So I've actually got the Giants at 19, and I've got Detroit at 27. So I mean, I've got them about
Detroit worse. So
I've got them at 1.7 point difference, and then you add in it's about a 1.75 home field advantage these days, and there you go. You're right about
the line
3.5, right where the line is. So
perfectly correct.
Yeah, that's kind of where I have it. But our AI model, which is not my model, does have this as a pick 'em, and the lines come down. Understandably, I think 4.5 would have been way too much, and it's going to settle at 3. I bet you this line just doesn't move much at all. It's going to sit around the 3. When you look, where's the money come in on the handles? This also makes sense to me, and it's gone with where the line has moved, which is more money has come in on the Detroit side of this game, possibly square sharp money. We haven't seen any of the reports on the sharp report yet, anything for this game. So we'll keep an eye on that. And then the under potentially getting some sharp money. Let's see where the lines moved on the total. Was it higher than this? Oh boy, it's an upside down U. So it kind of peaked, went 45 up to 46.5 and right back down to 40. So just looking at the handles and piecing it together, my guess is once that got up to the 46.5 level, and you can see it didn't stay at 46.5 very long. That's where the money came in, and it's going to kind of settle here at 45. You're probably not going to see any sharp money come in because from this point on. So any sharps probably hit this to the under at that 46, and then it's just going to sit here. I don't think that this line's going to move much more off of that.
Not super sexy from a DFS perspective here, even though the Lions have been this team that I've tried to target most weeks in players against. But it's just you need wide receivers, and the Giants simply don't have them on the team, so they just can't produce big offense, passing offense, and passing volume. And I don't want to predict the games that Daniel Jones runs for 2 touchdowns. He's just not consistent about it, so it's not something I think is predictable at all. I think it just will happen once in a while. All right. Vegas at Denver. This one has a 41.5 point total. Denver is at home, 2.5 point favorites here. Man, John, you see any betting angles here that are of interest? Because I'm not so sure that we're going to get a lot of DFS action out of that one.
Yeah, not going to get a ton of DFS. I mean, Denver's where quarterbacks go to die.
I mean, where Russell Wilson is
offensive quarterback, but I'm talking about opposing.
Yeah, and opposing quarterbacks.
You actually stole. Yeah, you stole my joke. I'm like, yeah, quarterbacks go in there to die, and then so do their own quarterback.
Yeah, their own players.
Yeah,
Denver defensively, 6.4 points below average to opposing quarterbacks, and 9 points below mean expectations to opposing wide receivers. What? And oh, by the way, for a little bonus, the running backs are also not doing great. They stifled Derrick Henry last week. This is just a slow team that plays at a slow pace, that plays a lot of defense. You got to stay away from those Denver games in fantasy. The only thing that might be negating it is like Vegas is pretty bad and actually allows a lot of points to quarterbacks. But, Russell Wilson, are we really going to, enough. Stop trying to make Russ a thing. It's not a thing. We're in week 11. Okay. He stinks. He's fat. He can't move around. He doesn't take a shit but once a week. He admitted it on film. I only take a shit once a week. And I see it. I see it on the belly. It's all bloated. He's running around out there like he's got to take a shit.
Yeah, that's part of my success is I shit much more frequently than that.
Got to go every day, bro.
Yeah.
It's twice a day. Can't do this Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson says, I eat so perfect that my body doesn't produce waste. I'm telling you, I don't know if these videos I keep seeing of Russell Wilson are parody or if they're real. I thought they were parody at first. Now I'm starting to think this is real.
No, I think he's pretty much out of his mind.
He's eating Subway sandwiches. He's not going to the bathroom. Bro, I eat a Subway. I got to go to the bathroom literally 5 minutes later.
I don't even eat it. I just throw it right in the bowl.
Yeah, you might as well. Like that, there's the nutritional content is like at a 0.
Yeah.
By the way,
I used to eat White Castle.
Next week,
you just have to lick them and taste them and then throw them out.
Yeah. Well, I was saying,
throw them right in the toilet.
By the way, next week, the game plan brought to you by Subway. Eat fresh. Like I go to the bathroom right away. This guy's eating Subway sandwiches, talking about perfect nutrition. He's terrible. No Jerry Jeudy this week, so maybe Cortland Sutton's going to get some more targets. Blah blah blah. That might be interesting.
Yeah, from a DFS. Let me just give you the betting side. So the public is all over Denver on this game. So we're getting that information from the on the Sharp report. It's backed up on the handles, and
yeah.
So yeah, when we look at the handles,
makes sense.
The money's coming in, and we also have that information on the Sharp report. So I like when those kind of line up. And we're also learning on the Sharp report that right now the sportsbook needs Vegas, which again lines up with what the handles are showing. And I think the logic here is I kind of agree with it. I mean, I can't see betting Vegas right now. I mean, you're talking about an offense that can't get anything going against a defense that's the one thing that's been really solid. It's one of the better defenses in the league at home. So I'm actually a little surprised at the total. I think that the total's a little high, even though our model likes it at 43.5. 41.5 seems a little high. I think Denver's going to be able to slow them down, and we know Denver hasn't been particularly good offensively either. So this is what I was talking about earlier, where it's like, we're talking about these games like, I don't want to stack this game out. Well, you're not going to really want to stack any of these games this week. It's just a brutal week. So you got to kind of pick your spots. We're going to probably see, the winner be maybe, quarterback and maybe one or two from the same team, and maybe not even a bring back. So we'll see how it plays out. But
are you betting this one, John? Like,
I'm not betting the game. Yeah. I have a bunch of games, and I'm guessing I have 6 games. It looks like I have all the primetime games that we're missing for the most part. I've got 6 bets out there for this week. I know for sure I have the Thursday. I have the Thursday game and the Monday game, I believe, and the Monday game, which is they're in Mexico Monday night, right?
Listen, if you want John's bets, you got to download the app and go to those game centers, and you'll see his beautiful face right in there. Pro picks, boom, show you what side of the bet you're on. So make sure you check those out. Yeah, not too many plays on some of these main slate ones here. As far as this game goes, I don't know. I see the public on Denver. I get it. I see that both these teams are find a way to lose kind of teams, though. And I don't like betting on find a way to lose teams at all. Denver just finds a way to lose these games. They have a chance of winning. Vegas defense, pretty bad. Denver defense, very good. Denver offense probably not as good as Vegas offense, but Denver's defense negates the Vegas offense a little bit. I don't know. I think here I don't want to lay 3 on Denver, so I'm not betting it. And like I said, I think Josh Jacobs, just an okay play. Devontae Adams probably a no-go for me in a game like this. It's really a DFS game to avoid for and nothing on Denver. Cortland Sutton's the only possible viable piece. I just want to discuss the fact that, by the way, let me tell you something from last week. To know that there's really an edge still in DFS, the fact that Greg Dulce de Leche was chalk in this $150 contest I entered last week and had like 35+% ownership, that is a reminder that there is legitimate edge in NFL DFS. And I know people say that, like pat themselves on the back or whatever, but there are some donkey chalk plays that are going on this time of year, and it is not that hard to identify them. So when big part of like my sheet that I put out each week, John, is like pointing shit like that out. There are people who are so, I guess it's projection models or something like that. They're so beholden to them that they're not really thinking through the fact that you're making a rookie tight end that's playing with Russell Wilson into the chalk when Russell Wilson can't even produce quality outcomes for elite wide receivers. It's crazy. I had Dalton Schultz as my core play last week. He went bananas, and I thought it was the most obvious DFS play I've ever seen. And yet, the field was on Greg Dulce de Leche. I was like, what is happening here? Thank you very much. The same thing happened with Pierce last week. It was a terrible matchup, and he was going to be 30-40% on. I was like, what are you, nuts? Let's fade this spot. And we faded Dameon Pierce last week to good avail, even though the other running backs were pretty crappy too. But we faded that. So, don't get sucked into Greg Dulce here again, is all I'm saying. If he's going to be the chalk, unfriend him. Beyond that, not much for a DFS angle. John, let's move on. We've got 2 more games on the main slate, and one of them is one of my favorite games of the week. So maybe this will produce a John bet here, but the Cowboys head out to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. Cowboys 1.5 point road favorites in this one, 47.5 point total. So take me through the betting angles, but this is one I really like for DFS.
I like this game as far as a bet goes myself, and I'm kind of guessing you probably like the same side. You said you like a side on this game?
Yes.
So I'm betting I already took Minnesota.
Yes.
Yeah, and the line, this one confused me.
Wait. Hold up. Wait a minute. You're taking Minnesota?
Oh yeah, why? You taking Dallas? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I'm taking like, you think Dallas should be favored in Minnesota in this game?
Yeah, Minnesota's coming off the miracle of the year.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Never has there been a bigger spot to let down the next week.
It is. They're coming off a miracle win. I get it. And you've got Dallas coming off a absolutely terrible loss. So, I mean,
yes,
the two are colliding.
Yes.
Here, Dallas has to go back on the road.
The only part that bothers me is that the back on the road component. I don't like teams that are on the road multiple weeks in a row, but the heartbreaking loss, the miracle win, Dallas feels like they should be a better team. Dak back for Dallas. The team is looking better. Zeke, the team plays better without Zeke, by the way. The less Zeke, the better Dallas is generally going to be. And yeah, wow. All right. I thought for sure you'd be
I like Minnesota. I like Minnesota in this one. Myself, I just think, I don't know. I personally, I was a little surprised that Dallas would be favored on the road in Minnesota.
It's kind of a pick 'em. It's kind of a pick 'em.
Yeah, it's kind of a pick 'em, but still, I mean, I was looking at this maybe like a Minnesota 2-point favorite. Now, who knows? Maybe I'm totally out of my mind. The model thinks this should be a 4.5 point spread for Dallas as well, and then, like I said, at 48.5, totals at 47.5. It's probably one of the better games as far as DFS goes this week, and you're seeing the bulk of the money come in on Dallas and even potentially sharp money. Now, we don't have any confirmation that the sharp money is on Dallas in this game, but from the handles, we're certainly seeing a lot more money, and the under is catching 75% of the money, and only 25% of the tickets coming in on the under. So yeah, you're taking a look from a DFS.
We'll go back to our DFS, but yeah, like Dallas, really good defense, right? Not allowing many points to almost any opposing position group. Really good against all positions. There's no real weakness in the Dallas defense at all. Minnesota, this is one of the things that I really love. Minnesota, very, very vulnerable to wide receivers, quarterbacks, generally not running back, which is fine by me. So, from a DFS angles, I'm like, all right, maybe this is time. I love CeeDee Lamb. I don't hate Michael Gallup, and I of course love Dalton Schultz once again, and Dak. And Dak is one of the few elite 3 quarterbacks that I have any interest in this week from a DFS angle. So I like Dak a little bit here. I do think it could be a close game, but I just think, the Dallas defense is very good, and they just got their quarterback back. They're still getting their legs under him with, playing back with Dak. And I think Minnesota's, I know they beat Buffalo, but I still think they're set to fall apart. They remind me of Tennessee last year.
I think they're better than Tennessee was last year, to be honest. That Tennessee, that was just a weird situation. And quite frankly, Tennessee's above, the fact that they're above 500 even now is odd to me. So, but yeah, no, I mean, listen, I've been wrong before. We'll see how it.
No, listen, hey, I love it. Mano. We got to have a little our own Butler bet action here, but yeah, I like the Dallas side. You like the Minnesota side. So let's leave it at that. I love it. Little mano. You want to wear a turd hat next week if you get it wrong?
I'm not.
Can you imagine John?
I'm not messing my hair up, man.
You're not messing up your hair.
No, come on.
This is like no turd hat challenge for you. I knew you wouldn't do it.
It's one of the few things I got going for me.
I knew you wouldn't do it. All right. No turd hat challenge for this. I tried, guys. I tried. Can you imagine John wearing the turd hat? Like, that would be awesome. All right. I like Dallas. I like everything to do with them. CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard, even if Zeke plays, I'm on it. Their offense in general. On the Viking side, I don't love Dalvin Cook here, but Justin Jefferson showed us that he is the beast, and you could play him every single week. If you can afford Justin Jefferson, certainly down to play him. And I like these games. Part of the reason I like this one is it's winter, it's getting cold, it's getting windy out. And anytime we can get an opportunity to have indoor games, I think those will be more productive and less volatile here as we get into the cold, windy, rainy, snowy season. So yeah, give me a little bit of exposure to this game on the Dallas side in particular. All right, next up, we've got the Bengals. Last game of the main slate here. We got the Bengals at Pittsburgh. Bengals 4-point road favorites in this one. Total set at 41. Now, John, I really like the Bengals offense for DFS purposes. Joe Burrow is one of those other quarterbacks that I don't mind this week. If you take a look at the DVP sort of sheet here, Pittsburgh, horrible against wide receivers, bleeding points. Let me see if I could find them. Bleeding points to wide receivers. I believe they are the worst in the league at this point, although the number got a little better from last week. It was -12. Now it's -9 because they played well. And I want to actually address the return of TJ Watt and if that kind of changes these numbers. But up till now, Pittsburgh has been a team to attack with opposing wide receivers and quarterbacks a little bit. Last week, massive shift. They played defensively really well. Joe Burrow has been part of the Nuts lineup a few times already this season. He's got a much more condensed target tree now with Chase gone and T. Higgins and Boyd. I'm not sure he can get there without Chase, to be quite honest. But do we ignore the Pittsburgh defensive metrics because most of these games were without their best defensive player? And now it changes.
Yeah, you can't totally ignore it, but he does make a difference. But this, he's not making it a difference. Not making a 9-point difference to the wide receivers. Yes, he's going to pressure the quarterback. He's going to be able to do those things. Special player, but I don't think it makes as big a difference. I mean, it makes a difference. I don't think it makes a difference to the point where we can't play against this team anymore. I just think this line is 4 or 4.5, depending. I don't know how you feel about this. I have a strong opinion on Cincinnati in this game. Yeah, this is another one of those lines that doesn't necessarily make sense to me. I think Pittsburgh's one of the worst teams in the league. Granted, yes, you got Watt back, and it certainly helps. But I don't know. I think Cincinnati should be able to win this game fairly comfortably. The model agrees with me. It likes it at 7.5. 41. Now, the only sharp money or the only info that we got on this was sharp money hit this at 43 to the under. So they've already got this 2 points better than where it is. So we've kind of missed the boat, lost the value on taking the under on this game. We can see where the lines move from 5.5 down to 4. That's another thing that's troubling, is like how the lines moved in favor of Pittsburgh, and then you look at the money. I mean, it's coming all in on Pittsburgh. So sometimes I scratch my head. I'm like, I'm crazy.
You're fighting the sharps right there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the like I said, I'm on the Cincinnati side. I could be totally nuts, and it is troubling to me to see that line moving in Cincinnati's favor. Maybe I should have waited on the bet. I did play it already.
Well, I'll give you one reasoning for this. Kenny Pickett, he didn't look very, very good so far in his NFL career. But if you look at the opponents that he's faced, it's been a who's who of really good defensive teams. And so the thought is it's kind of like what happened with Fields, where he finally got a couple of quote unquote easier games and then actually started to smash. The thought might be, and I'm just surmising this, but all right, he plays Buffalo, Philly, Tampa, Miami, not bad. Jets, what do all those teams have in common? Jets, Buffalo, Eagles, Saints. These are pretty good defensive teams. And then when he finally played against New Orleans, the Saints, they pull it out and he puts up a good number. And they finally kind of get an average defense. And all of a sudden, Kenny Pickett is kind of competent. And yeah, Cincinnati's actually been above average defensively this year.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going
to get pressure on them,
but not as good as maybe some of those other teams. So I don't know. Their metrics are not that much worse than the very good defenses.
The under does make sense to me why the sharps hit it at 43. I did at 43, that's not a bad under. 41, not so much. But I could see that. You could see this game kind of developing a similar to the way that Saint game did last week.
Yeah.
Against Pittsburgh.
Tough game for DFS angles.
It is.
There's not a whole lot going on here. Like I said, you can play Burrow. Burrow's one of these guys you can play every week, and every once in a while he'll go off for 35. I think if Burrow is going off, it's probably a back and forth affair. I would probably want to game stack him if I did, but maybe bring it back with Pickett or something like that. But for the most part, outside of the Burrow play, Joe Mixon, every once in a while, like you said, he wins you a milli maker. That's how he operates as a player. The other times he's usually causing you to not even cash your lineup. That's sort of the way that Mixon functions as a DFS play. But interestingly, they priced him up, especially on FanDuel, to a level where no. Mixon is somebody that you want when he's underpriced and he just happens to pop off like when he popped off a few weeks ago, and he did it from a 6K, 6,500 salary on DraftKings. Now he's back up to 70 in the mid 7s on DraftKings in the no-go zone for the most part for me. On FanDuel, I think he's all the way close to 9K, which is absurd for the type of production that he normally delivers. So I like Mixon, but it is noteworthy that the Steelers are very, very good against running backs on the season. And that was before Watt came back. So I don't know. I'm probably not going to be all over it. Let's see if you could see Steelers here, or if it's hidden. Pittsburgh. Yeah. Can you see that? Yeah. I mean, they're giving up almost 2 points per game below average tight end, 3 points per game below average to the running back position. That's really bad. That means they're very good against running backs. They're if I kind of briefly glance across the whole thing, they're probably 4th or 5th best team in the league at limiting fantasy points to opposing running backs, according to this adjusted DVP metric. So for me, that's enough to say, meh. I'm not paying top dollar for a guy in a bad matchup.
No, you want the Cincinnati passing game. That's what you want here.
It's T. Higgins. Basically, it's Higgy Smalls.
I think he's their best. Even when Chase is there, I think he's their best.
It's Higgy Azalea. Nothing. Don't know who that is.
I do. I know. I know the name. Is that the WAP? Did she do WAP? Was that the song? Was that her?
I'm not going to justify this. I'm not going to justify.
Who did that? Who did?
I don't even know what you're saying. That sounds like a slur against the Titans. I'm not going to get involved with that.
Yeah, no. What was it? What was the song?
Not getting involved with that.
What was it?
WAP. What is it? What are we talking
about? Wet ass
here?
pussy or what something? What was
are we saying this now? This is a family show, John.
You said you were just talking about taking a shit like 4 times a day.
That is that's legitimate fantasy football analysis.
That's true. You were breaking down the
this is Russell
quarterback
Wilson.
there. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I got you.
Family show. Family.
That's my bad. We could edit this out. Yeah.
Kids are watching.
Yeah, we'll edit that.
Can't say that. But that does sound like something Iggy Azalea would.
I don't know. No, it's that other one. The one who used to be a stripper.
Oh no. Yeah, no.
What's her name? Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj.
No, Nicki Minaj.
Oh, Cardi B. Cardi B. Cardi B. That's
probably Cardi B. Nicki Minaj got something going on right now on the radio that could not be more inappropriate, and I love it. But
I did see a thing where they turned like what they do. They brought the tone down on, I believe it was Nicki Minaj song, and it sounds exactly like Jay-Z. So there's speculation that Jay-Z is actually singing it. And
stop!
I swear to God, I saw it. I don't know. No. I don't know how I came across that, but I came.
Nicki Minaj is very unique with her style. She's got a song out right now called
"Sounds Like Jay-Z." It's pretty awesome.
She's a freak, and it's a freaky song. Anyway, that being said, guys, that's going to wrap it up for the game plan. We no longer have sponsors after John described what the WAP is. So at this point, our only sponsor, we are focused on Sharp App. Make sure you check out the Sharp App if you want John's plays, his bets, all the great stuff that you could track your bet. By the way, one of the things, if you have Sharp App, and even if you're a state that doesn't allow betting, but you want to have the kind of the experience of betting or at least testing your systems or your models out, the bet tracking system on Sharp kind of feels just like placing a bet. You can pick how many units you want to do. You'll track it. You can see over time. So if you want to kind of test the system in there, start testing it by plugging in your plays on Sharp App. Listen, if you're losing all the time, that's a sign. Don't ever gamble, ever. Your system's not working, or do something different. But so at least you can find that out, right? But it's fun. You can replicate betting, so you can sort of gamify. What do they call it? Like risk, no money bets, or on paper bets.
Trading.
I don't know what you want to call it.
Paper trading.
Yeah, you could just paper trade if you want, and just kind of get a feel of it. It's all free, and you can check it out. Of course,
if you're losing better, just like I talked about when you're kind of looking for affirmation from other systems, that's actually a good thing. Like, to be a really bad bettor is good, just as good as being a really good bettor, because now,
we'll just fade it.
So what you want to do is just take the game. If you agree with a pick that I made, then you don't want to play that pick, and then also let me know so I can
whatever you want to do. No, we once the mush knows they're a mush, it ruins the mush.
Right.
Now it ruins the mush. If you're a mush, just be you. We'll figure out what to do with your bets.
What was the name of the horse? I brought this up to you before. Do you remember what was the name of the horse Eddie Mush played that he bet that they all ripped up their tickets when they were at the track in
I don't remember.
Kryptonite, man. Kryptonite was the horse.
Kryptonite. There we go. Eddie the Mush.
Eddie Mush.
I have a friend who's a mush. I ask him for his plays all the time.
We've all got buddies like that.
Yeah. If you have a friend who's a mush, never tell them they're a mush. Just be like, yeah, bro, what are you doing this week? Oh, who are you playing? Oh, okay. Oh, you like the Vikings. All right. That's good to know. That's good to know.
My buddy, like early day, he doesn't bet anymore. This is what when we were kids, and he was the worst. Usually you're a good bettor coming out to shoot because you get that false sense of, boy, I really know what I'm doing. I'm going to make $1 million doing this. So most people like initially just win for whatever reason. He was just bad right out of the shoot when we were like, when I had been betting long before, but he started betting out of like college. And I mean, he could not win a bet. So I stopped by my buddy's house, and his uncle was living there at the time. And his uncle was like a just a low level mafia guy, and he used to, you know, and he bet like crazy. So he's like, after my buddy Rob's like on this awful streak, and I used to put the game, you know, this is pre-internet and everything, and I used to put the games in with my guy for him, so I knew every game he was betting. So I'd walk in the house, and he's like, I'll do, you know, his voice. He's like, he goes, hey, cuz, what's Rob got today? I'm like, he likes Tampa against the Bears. And then I walk into the kitchen talking to my buddy, and then I hear in the other room him on the phone with his guy. I go, let me get 200 times. He's like, on the Bears.
I like that your cousin speaks with like
it's not my cousin. He used to call me cuz.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why does he speak with like a 70s jive?
That's how he used to talk. That's how he talks right now too. But
he's got like a jive accent. He's like, yo, what's up, Jive Turkey? Remember from Airplane?
Yes,
He sounds a little.
Well, they had
like
June. That was June Cleaver was the interpreter. On the
yeah, yeah. No, that was awesome. That was a great scene. I just resaw that scene because actually, probably shouldn't talk about it, but they were like, this scene could never be put on film today.
No,
like,
yeah, you couldn't do it now.
They were like, I think it was the director of that movie going, comedy's dead. Anyway, all right, let's wrap it up. Game Plan NFL Week 11. Of course, if you want all the tools that we have over at DFS Army, make sure you are subscribed over at DFS Army. We got the Domination Station, John. We're constantly putting out new tools. I don't know what more to say. And of course, John is hanging out in the Discord with us there. And of course, in the Sharp App Discord. Sharp App Discord is free. You could just enter it, check it out, hang out in the rooms, talk with people about your bets. You can do a premium plan. You can follow along with John. My bets that I put out, and a team of sports betting pros that we have that all tip their bets. They give you reasonings, and you can strategize. Everybody's got a channel similar to DFS Army. Learn about betting on sports. John's got the Sharp Academy on the Sharp app as well, where you can learn all of the basics, how to build models, all that great stuff. So check that out if you can, and we will see you next time on another Game Plan.